The generator kicks in. The transfer switch does its job. Power is back. Then 30 seconds later, a motor trips. Control panel resets. Someone asks, what just happened? Because on paper, everything worked. This is the mistake I see more than almost any other on site. People treat ATS transfer like a simple on-off switch. It's not, and the difference between closed transition and open transition is why some transfers are clean and others quietly damage the equipment nobody even suspects. If your site has ATS, you need to understand this difference, because the faults I've seen were not the generator's fault. They were transition type mismatch. Nobody caught until it caused something. An ATS transition just moves from one source to the other, utility to generator or back. There are two ways it does that. If picking the wrong one for your load is where the damage happens. Open transition means there is a brief moment, usually a fraction of a sec, where the load is connected to neither source. Utility disconnect, there is a gap, then the generator connect. For most loads, that gap is harmless. It flicker, nothing else happens. Here is what I check on site. Any load with a motor. Gap in power means the motor goes down, even briefly, and it can start and synchronize with the incoming source's phase. That's what trip protection relay. It stresses motor wind, not the outage itself, the re-energizing moment. We check the transition time on the ATS setting and confirm it's been range connected motor can tolerate. That's usually specified by the motor manufacturer. Note the generic number. Closed transition briefly connect both sources at the same time, synchronized before disconnecting first one. No gap at all. This is what you want for sensitive or motor heavy load, because there is no host down, no re-energizing surprise. But here is the check most people skip. Closed transition requires the generator to be synchronized with the utility first, matching frequency, voltage, and phase. Before that brief overlap happens, if your generator synchronization settings are off, even slightly, that overlap moment comes the failure point instead of the fix. I check the sync settings on the ATS controller and confirm frequency and phase angle windows are tight before I trust a closed transition system on a live site. This is the mistake I mentioned in the introduction. I've seen sites with closed transition ATS installed, which is the right call for their motor load, but the sync settings were never properly commissioned, so it behaves worse than a simple open transition will have. So before I trust any ATS installation, I check what it was actually configured for versus what's connected to it now. Loads change over time. More motors get added. Nobody goes back to confirm the transition type still matches what's on the panel. Even within open transition systems, transfer time varies. Some switches are near instantaneous, others have deliberate delay built in for generator stabilization. I check the actual transfer time against what the connected equipment ride-through capability is rated for. UPS systems and some VFDs have a published tolerance for how long they can handle an interruption before dropping load themselves. Here's what prevents this. Before any ATS goes live on a site, the motor load, confirm the transition type matches the load, not just what was convenient at all. If you are running closed transition, commission the sync settings properly and test them under real load conditions, not just on the bench. If you are running open transition, confirm your transfer time against your most sensitive connected equipment's tolerance and address anything that can't handle the gap. Separate with something like a UPS. Here is the big picture. An ATS doesn't fail quietly. It fails invisibly. The switch operates exactly programmed every time. The problem was never the switch. It was whether the switch was configured or what's actually connected to it. Check that much before you trust the system, not after something trips. Before you go, drop one thing in the comment. Have you seen transfer switch cause a problem that looks like something else entirely? What turned out the real cause? I read everyone. Next week, I'm covering generator derating at high altitude. Why the rated output on the nameplate isn't what you actually get site, and the numbers you need to recalculate for trust that rating. Subscribe so you don't miss.